That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. Everybody who's here, credit to you. Credit to you. Own up to the music. That counts for you too, Kent. Where are you, buddy? Come on. All weekend, people were asking me, John, does this mean Kent's going to bail or will he show up and face the music? This is going to be a tough one, guys. Thanks for joining me. First things first. I am not feeling good. My whole family's sick. Nobody did Thanksgiving. We're all sick as can be. Let's just do this. So I apologize for my voice. If we have a lot of calls, I'll let you guys do the talking. My voice is not in a good place and I feel terrible, emotionally and physically, I might add. So a little bit of everything there. Here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. Look at this. We got the USC folks jumping in the chat. They dusted off the surfboards and they're ready for action. Look at that. Dust off that old surfboard and hang 10 with Always Irish. Give them a hard time. 7 a.m. on the West Coast. Best time to catch a wave? I don't know. I live in Illinois. I wouldn't know. But anyways, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do whatever you want to do. But it's your day. That's what the point of this show is. We're going to take this wherever you want to go. It's totally fine. You want to vent? You want to rant? You want to talk about next year? You want to talk about big picture, small picture? It's your show. So whatever you guys want to do, we'll do. Okay? So let's do the introduction and the roll call. A bunch of people been chatting. And I want to hit some of those. Then we're going to get to the calls. We'll just see how it goes. All right. So obviously, YouTube, you're there right now. Hit subscribe. I appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. Appreciate that as well. Notifications on. You'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want me, you can get me. Call in line. We got a bunch of calls stacked up. 312-900-8815. How do you feel about the game? How do you feel about the season overall? How do you feel about the trajectory of the program? How do you feel about this offseason? What do you want Notre Dame to do to get in a better place? All of those things are in the mix. How did you like Caleb Williams, FUCKND on his hands? Classy as could be. Like, we could go wherever you want to go, folks. We could go wherever you want to go. I've seen a lot in the chat just from before I even went live. We're all over the place. We are all over the place. So let's hit some of those. Then we'll get to the calls. We'll welcome people here. Dr. John's here. At least Swamp Thing went down. Yeah, the problem is I wasn't able to enjoy it. That was one of the most disappointing things of the day. Other than our situation, the fact that Brian Kelly'd himself with the potential playoff bid on the line, and it was during our game. I couldn't even enjoy it, and we lost. It ruined it. Couldn't even laugh at Kelly because of what we did. I couldn't do it. Oh, boy. Where is Kent? People are asking. V1 rotate. Good to see you. Mark Holzum. Can't wait to see you we get in the bowl. I guess. It's just tough for me to get excited about anything right now. Brad Henry, you own up to the music. I was right. Oh, man. This is just, it's a tough scene, folks. Where is it? Drunk Vigo, I think, was saying, we have a situation where it's always next year. It's always things will be better. It's always, wait till the next batch of players and it never comes. I understand that and I felt that, but does the way Marcus Freeman run things make you feel differently about that? Like, did you see enough this year that you think maybe there really is this potential for growth and it wasn't here under Kelly? Or is that just a Notre Dame thing? That it's always next year and next year never comes. I like to think I've seen enough to think there's more upside in the way Marcus Freeman does things than what we're used to. That's just what I think. Somebody said Kent. Oh, Kent's here. I love you, Kent. I respect this. Kent. I want Kent to know my family, a whole bunch of people were messaging me saying, I hope all your Notre Dame people show up to own the music, and I hope Kent does too. Disappointing weekend for us both. I don't understand the Ohio State thing at all. What they did at home against their rival, I just can't wrap my mind around it. I just can't. I don't understand how they did that. It blows my mind. Oh, geez. Clemson win was fool's gold. That's the other thing now we got to deal with. Notre Dame's best win and best loss, so Ohio State and Clemson, what are those worth now? Those took hits too. So then I also have people saying, I know we used that Clemson game as a marking point of like, we're getting better. Look what we did. Does that carry as much weight now? I've heard that. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's rough. What else do we have? Start here. Good to see the normals. Mike, good to see Mike here. Good to Jay Lehman outside the, what is this? Let's see. Outside the 10-0 start, ND played the second and third quarters even, lost fourth quarter. Not rolled. However, the D didn't play like they had missed two. The missed starters hurt for sure. Secondary players outed hurt. We started sluggish. I didn't appreciate that. It's the one thing you couldn't do. The defense seems slow. They just look slow to me. I don't understand what the deal was, but they look slow. And I hated it. Brad Henry, hey, John, do I get credit for saying the unpopular? USC will roll ND. Freeman is now 1-2 against Pac-12. I guess, Brad, I have no other path to go but to give you credit. If you're right, and it's sad, I guess. Angela, what's going on? Good to see you. Here we go. We are not Marshall. Most disappointed I've been in as a fan in a long time. We got sold a bill of goods on players that quite frankly did not perform. Maris got 64 snaps, had 4 tackles. If you're looking for some good news, linebacker speed and some increased talents on the way on the roster, and there's young guys there that I think are going to be able to cover more space and do some of the things we need them to do. I think that talent is coming. I'm not going to say this is the most disappointed I've been as a fan in a long time. We entered the game with 3 losses, and that caps some of my disappointment level because I already knew this wasn't a playoff team. I'm bitterly disappointed and upset, but I'm not saying it's the most disappointed I've been as a fan in a long time. I can't. We entered the game with 3 losses. Most disappointing in the long time would be we entered that game with 0 or 1 losses and played the way we did, which would mean our playoff life was on the line and we bombed. So I can't go there most disappointed in a long time because we already had 3 losses and I knew this team had issues. At the same time, for what this was, I expected better play overall. We didn't get it. That's upsetting to me. Here's what I think my main problem is. I'm very upset that we didn't give them our best shot. That upsets me. It just does. I don't think we gave them our best shot. If we played well and got beat because Williams makes a couple plays, I can live with that. That's not what happened. I do not feel we played well, and that is maybe the worst part of this. We didn't give them our best shot, and as a result, it made a guy that's already great look magical. And that is the worst part of this that upsets me. It really does. It really does. And the other thing, I think we already covered this. That quarterback's young. He's not going to the league after this year. Mikey Poles, Jay Lehman, good to see you. Kent, glad you're here, man. Stand up, move to be here. We're not laughing at you. I don't think we're in a position to laugh at you, Kent, with our own situation. So we're all in this disappointment together right now. Williams is going to be around. He's not eligible to go to the league, so I think we're going to see him at Notre Dame. Here's something I've seen a lot of people talk about with Williams in the NFL. I've seen people saying he's doing all of his damage running around because he can outspeed a lot of these college teams. I already see people questioning, how's that going to play in the league? I don't know if that's like a legitimate concern or not, but he looked good against us. My word, looked like we were running the other way when he was running. Like wherever he was, our guys go the other way. I just can't handle it. Chief Brody, what's up? Phil Hag, good to see you here. Adam, Angela Rudiger, good to have a Rudiger even on a depressing Monday. Dr. John has a really very good point, Dr. John. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Item, tough to block a punt when you can't make them punt. It's so funny that it's so sad that it turns funny, folks. Oh my gosh. The running game. That's something else, you guys. I can't handle it. I can't handle the fact we had 90 yards rushing and they had 204 and 145 came from a backup running back. I just can't handle it. Like, among the things that rub me the most wrong about this, one is us not playing our best and challenging them with our best foot forward. Very upsetting. And then the answers, the question of why, that's even a bigger issue. Why? Why was that like that? Okay. So that's one. But that running number, that offends me as far as a statistic. It's a problem. That's a problem. 90 yards by you, offensive line, you going against what was told to be a weak defense. And then you allow them 204 on you with a backup. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. USC beat Notre Dame playing Notre Dame's game and USC's game. That's red flag central. They beat you at your game and their own. They did both. And I didn't see them doing both. I didn't think they'd be capable of doing both. I'll be damned if they didn't do both. They did. They ran it on you, and that kid was able to buy time and run around. It's rough. I thought we were supposed to stop the run first. Would have been a good idea. Did anybody else feel like they were getting 4 or 5 yards on first and second down runs? And what that means is then you're dead. That means you're dead, right? Because if you're giving up 4 or 5 yards on a first down run that isn't even creative right up the gut on you, that means that you're letting Williams have the flexibility to do anything. Take shots. It's second and third and short. You could do whatever you want. It was a bad recipe. Bad recipe. I'm sorry. It's rough. Deb Thomas, good to see you here. Jay Lehman, the Chief. Adam, do we win the game with Buckner? Probably not. I mean, it's impossible to say, but probably not. Like, it's just rough. What the hell was Pine doing throwing to Mayer and triple and quadruple coverage? Mayer's the first, second, third, fourth option and the outlet. You should know that by now. Locked in on him. Locked in, folks. Beefeater. Who do we have now or who will we have next year that'll be able to track down Caleb Williams? I don't know, but I'm not ready to worry about it today. I'm not ready to worry about it today. Mark, you're on this. It's one of my big questions for the day I had on my board for you fine folks. Who's to blame for this? Like, when you look at the disappointment in how we performed, how do you divvy out the blame? How do you proportion it out? Who does it go to in your mind, in your heart? Some of it is Williams is really, really good. Yeah, obviously, I got to give him credit for that. The kid was amazing, probably going to win the award, even though I don't appreciate the showboating and the F Notre Dame on his hand and all that. Like, that's LA style. That's USC style. That's how they want to be. And we had every opportunity in the world to stop it. If we didn't like it, we didn't do it. So showboat your little heart out. We had every opportunity to make plays to shut that kid up. We didn't do it all night. So that's on us. But the blame game, that's where my mind's been, and it's a struggle. We're going to get to the phone calls next. 737-631-336-314 coming up first. The blame game's a challenge. Some of it is just USC's actually pretty good, and that quarterback is the engine, and we couldn't control him. Okay. But a lot of it's what we didn't do. Why didn't we come out ready? Why did we get shredded right down the field in a rivalry game, first drive? Unacceptable. You can't let that happen. The number one thing we couldn't do, we allowed a fast start. Looked terrible, let him go right down the field. It was like we weren't even playing defense. How is that your reality? I just don't understand how you allow that to happen. Oh, the sex bots are out early today. 9:16 on a Monday. Jeezy Pete's, give me a break. It's okay. We're going to watch the World Cup now, beat Iran. I don't do soccer. It's a lot of running. And then the one time I go take a leak, the only exciting thing happens in 3 hours, and John was getting some chips for 2 seconds. I don't have the attention span for all the open running. I just can't. I don't. I've tried. I just don't. Oh, man. So that blame game, I don't know who it is. Motivation, not ready to play. It isn't just execution. You can't tell me there were no coaching errors made. Like, give me a break. So it's a lot of everything. Our roster deficiencies, it's a lot of everything. Even though Pine, I don't know what just happened. Half my lights went out in this room. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Here you come again. I don't know what happened. Half my lights turned off. Whatever. Maybe that's just a sign of the times, folks. But I shorted a circuit or something in my brain. Just all of it. And then it's like, well, Pine, he had a really good statistical day other than those 2 turnovers, passing the ball. He really did. He had good numbers passing. It's just those 2 turnovers were killer at killer points in the game and in killer areas. So how can you be like Pine did great other than those 2 brutal turnovers that ruined our chance to win? Like, how do you expect me to just cut those out of the full equation? A mesh point and then not seeing a guy wide open, forcing it into traffic. Like, how do you expect me to just take that out and then evaluate? Those things matter. It's oh, it's so frustrating. Oh, it's so frustrating. Oh, here we go. We need to stop with the tight end sneak on 4th and 1. Here's my thought on that. My honest thought on that. I was waiting all year. They did it 8 times and it worked. I figured Notre Dame and Reese have to be smart enough to have a pivot off that and to know every team in America is ready for that and then wait for a moment to get tricky off it and get real crit. Never happened. I'm out of my mind for thinking coaching-wise that you would be smart enough to know everybody's selling out for that and fake it and have a tight end who used to play quarterback throw. Nothing. No creativity. I am more concerned with the defense. It's very, very tough. I cannot believe Williams is Williams. We knew he was going to run around and cause some trouble. 200 something on the ground. I'm appalled. I'm absolutely appalled. I can't believe you allowed that. Right at you. It was a bad job and a great job by their staff. They coached well. All right, let's get some phone calls cranked up. 737. Good morning. Hello.
Hey, John, good morning. Can you hear me, sir?
Yep, I got you now, loud and clear.
Man, hey, thanks for picking me up on the first call. I appreciate that.
No problem at all. You're a long time caller. So where is your mind at after everything you've seen this weekend? How are you beginning to process all this? Big picture, small picture. It's your guys' time today. Wherever you want to start, we'll start.
I think the biggest question, or the biggest concern is, man, I'm all over the place. I'm like all over the place already, just from the game. So I was so annoyed that I had to start putting pen to paper, and just kind of making notes, because it's almost like, how do you? It's the purpose of this chat for me is to be able to speak to those things, right? And so typically I'll write a few things down and just kind of whatever. Man, and I just started kind of scribbling just a bunch of stuff just to kind of just get it off my mind. But man, I'll go through some of the points that I made, obviously. But really, I just, I'll start with saying I think Williams is no class trash with talent. And that's I think he showed it. He's also a sophomore in college, so obviously young and dumb and, all the other things that go with that. But obviously the kid is extremely talented. But Williams didn't beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat Notre Dame. The tackling or the lack thereof, it was like I was watching the game and we were in the game, and at the same time feeling like we had no chance to win it or to do anything, because the defense was, it was like a strainer, full of water, just kind of couldn't stop anything at all. And I think that's the thing I'm most surprised about is there's a lot of talk going around, but nobody's talking about the lack of tackling. It was like, get a stop, get a tackle, stop kind of trying to arm tackle everybody. And here's the thing. I don't think that it was, like I said, Williams that beat us, because the fact of the matter is we weren't tackling anybody. We weren't tackling running backs. We weren't tackling Williams, obviously. We weren't tackling receivers when they were catching the ball. We didn't tackle at all. Maybe what, the fourth or fifth person kind of was able to make a stop clearly after they got the first down. So I think that's my.
You're saying Williams. You're saying Williams didn't beat us. To a certain extent, I agree with that. To the extent of, if you don't allow 204 rushing yards, then what Williams does is less impactful to us. Like, that's the number you couldn't have. He was going to make plays that make us pull our hair out. We knew that. You couldn't also give up 204 on the ground. I think that's the stat that killed the game for Notre Dame, to me.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I think, and again, let me put it in context. I think for Williams didn't beat us, meaning like he wasn't the only one. Like, in terms of like seeing the UCLA game, he made a lot of things happen. Watching the Notre Dame game, it was almost like everybody else was doing their things. And then if we needed Williams to kind of get a first down or to do something, then they went over to him. But for the most part, certainly in the second half at least, the running backs, they did all the work. And hey, if we needed Williams, we'll let him scramble for a half hour and go from there. But I don't think he was as impactful as he was with others when you look at his whole thing. Watching the game, though, like I said, when you're watching the game, it was much more. It just kind of deflated everything watching the game. But then you go back and you look at stat lines, you look at scores, you look at drives, you look at a few other things. And it wasn't really that, it wasn't as bad as it looked. And I think that's the big part of this game that was really hard to swallow, was that it looked and felt a lot worse than it really was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but where I start turning is, what a big deal it was to me not to let Power in the Rivalry flip first-year new coaches. That whole angle was a top priority of mine, just for us to keep control of this while Marcus flips the roster, does whatever. And it didn't happen. And I'm most upset we didn't put up our best game against theirs and see where it fell. That was disappointing. But next, I get into blame. Like, why? It's one thing for us to identify what we didn't do well enough, but then the next thing turns into why did that happen? Is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it just executing the plays? Is it motivation? Because I felt like USC was way more fired up to start than we were. Those are where I go next, and then I don't have the answers to all those questions.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because I've been kind of thinking about, hey, I'm going to call into John's call, tomorrow, and I want to make sure that I have my points down because I want to get it off my chest and not think about it, right? So, but I'm looking at the chat, and there's not one thing that I had said or thought about or wrote down that anybody isn't saying already. Like, I always go back and say, hey, the Always Irish audience is a damn good audience, and I appreciate their insight or their feedback. But and somebody said it in the chat already too. They played our game against us. You said it as well.
Yep.
They played our game against us with a better QB. But this is the crazy thing. Minus the few turnovers, which were obviously inexcusable, Drew Pine, if not for Drew Pine, this game is a blowout. So I gotta give some love to and credit to Drew Pine. I mean, we punted once.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, Pine had more yards, a higher completion percentage, and a higher passer rating than Caleb Williams did.
Here's where this gets messed up, though. Like, I saw those numbers too, obviously. Wrote an article about it, recorded the post-game show about it, whatever. And those numbers were really good. And you could argue it was his best passing night of his career and all that. And I agree with that. And also, he can't be the starter next year. Like, I can't do it. It's too limiting, even when he's good. And I'm done with it. And I have no more patience to give to that dynamic. And tough kid, a fighter, second string guy, not even meant to be I appreciate all of it, but it all adds up to not good enough. We need higher upside. And that's the next iteration of this. We got to start thinking about that. It can't be Pine next year. Too limiting. It just can't be. It can't be. And I'm done with that project.
No, it won't be because like you said, it can't be. But I will give Pine credit where credit is due, certainly for the year and for other things in terms of what he came into.
Yeah.
What we ended up as. Like I said.
Yeah, I agree with that. But see, you're intellectually capable, I think, of parsing those out and realizing they could both be true at the same time. Like, a lot of people with their backup aren't going to be able to do what we did. Even though we're frustrated, it wouldn't be even as good as whatever we got. So I agree with all that. And also, like, no, like we need something new next year. And I'm starting to think I have no patience for the unknown anymore. I think it hurts Notre Dame too much to enter every single year never knowing. Go get me a big arm transfer guy. At least I know what he's capable of doing with his arm until the young guys that allegedly have this high upside get here. I'm done with the unknowns. I can't handle it anymore. It puts the program at too much risk every year to never know what you're going to get at the most important position. Am I wrong?
No, I mean,
it's a tough dynamic.
We watched it all year. Yeah, no, I mean, we looked at it all year. Again, I think one of the notes I wrote down was in terms of this year, and I've been a Notre Dame fan, like I said, probably way more emotionally invested in Notre Dame than I should be over the years. And you think that it would lessen. I almost feel like it's getting worse. But I'd say in all the years, I've never seen a more inconsistent team. And I mean inconsistent, not hey, we got a good defense and the offense is struggling a little bit.
But drive to drive, game to game. Yeah.
Yeah, just in general inconsistency from one game to the next, one half to the next, where the defense is off or the defense is great or this is good, and then it's crazy. It's almost like my takeaway for the team for the year is questions. Just
yeah.
Who are we?
Now
who were we? Right?
Here's what I've been thinking about. How much of that instability week to week, half to half, quarter to quarter, how much? That's the next thing. Like, I was trying to parse blame for this performance. The next thing is those inconsistencies. What do we think is causing those? Roster in flux, year one, new coach, new staff, new head coach learning, roster flipping over in the middle of it, backup quarterback. Like, what do you think is causing that level of inconsistency in game week to week? I've been racking my brain on that, and it's probably a complicated, multifaceted answer.
It's probably multiple things. I mean, the easiest would be to say, hey, that it's coaching. I just know if you're seeing a ton of inconsistency, it has to start at the top. And so whether we say Freeman or the coordinators, I think it's more coordinators than Freeman. But who knows? I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, I think not Pine. I think Reese is getting. I think he's getting a lot of positive credit, but to start off, I mean, everybody's giving him credit. I think that credit should go to Pine. He played above his ceiling, and without Pine making some connections, albeit a few turnovers, this is a much closer loss than what it looked like or what it could have been without Pine. But again, you talk about Reese. We start the game with a 3 and out. We had trouble getting 3 and 2, 3 and 1, 4th and 1. And then I'm looking at Estime had the most yards per carry of all the running backs, but the freaking guy got 6 touches.
Yep, I noticed that too.
We're saying
yep.
I mean, we're saying our running game didn't work, but then we're giving our biggest back, who's gotten the most yards and the most yards per carry, the least amount of touches. Again, some of the things just don't make sense to me. So yes, Reese can get credit for the passing game because we had to.
But here's the thing, man. Let me ask this. I've seen a lot of still mixed reviews on Reese, right? I want him to go, he's doing fine. I saw a lot of reaction to this game saying a lot of it was execution stuff. That's the problem. But Reese, a lot of people are saying they had no problem with Reese and the way the game's called or whatever. So then that means if we're doing that and we're saying the game plan was fine, then you have a major execution problem with the players. Then if the game plan was perfect, you didn't get out coached or out schemed, and USC has a bad defense, and at halftime we have 7 points. Something's got to give. Something has to give. If you're going to say Reese called a good game, why the hell do we have 7 points at halftime? Execution failures all over the board then, right? Both can't be true. So if we're saying Reese did a good game thing overall, why do we have 7 points at halftime against a horrible defense in a rivalry game? If it's execution, then tell me that. And then we got a problem with players then. Who's not doing the right thing? 7 points at halftime against this defense is not good enough. And I don't think it could just be execution. It has to be a little more, right?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I'm looking at it differently. Reese called a better game than he has in the past when we've gotten to a precarious situation and we had to change up the game plan. So, a big complaint of mine all year has been how terrible we are at making adjustments. Well, yeah, hey, the running game wasn't working. I think we got away from it too early. I don't think we ran the right backs. I don't think we had the right schemes. However, they made a switch, and that switch seemed to be working. And so did Reese call a better game than he normally does after we had to abandon or maybe abandon our game plan too early? Yeah, I think that he made better decisions and called better plays in an adjustment area than what he's done in the past. So, but at the end of the day, we got away from our game plan. We didn't run. Again, Estime 6 carries it's bewildering to me how we were initially following our primary game plan and then immediately gave that up. But again, I think, hey, what happens if we don't give it up? What happens if we're not passing? What happens if Pine's not playing well above his ceiling? For me, I put the whole loss on the defense. We scored at one point, and a friend of mine texted me and said, "Hey man, this is good." We go down, we score, we get a stop, and then we get another score. We can score on this team. And I said, "Yeah, I agree with you." I said, "The problem is we're not stopping them." I mean, it looked like after that first drive, that was easy peasy, man. They rolled right in the end zone.
It was right away after all this waiting and all the excitement we had, everybody in America and all the Notre Dame, we're all worked up, all excited. And then right away, it's a hot knife through butter. Literally no, it felt like the Kelly era where forget about winning drives. We were not winning plays. Like we did not get one good stop or a tackle for a loss or nothing. They right down on us. No problem. It's ultra upsetting. Now let me try and turn this positive. And I know nobody who's used to me is going to be able to follow me here and believe I'm going to be positive. What would your reaction be if I said, if you're going to ever lose one to USC, which we're stating as a baseline is unacceptable in our DNA as Notre Dame people existentially, if we're going to say you're going to have to lose one to USC, should it go ahead and be one where we have 3 losses and we're not playing for our own playoff hope anyways? I've had people say that to me. If you're going to lose one, let it be one where everything isn't on the line for you and your roster's in flux and you're kind of whatever. So do you subscribe to that at all, or is that just loser talk?
I mean, I do. I just think it's like, because it has little to no consequence. I do think I'd feel better if we lose that game mid-October as opposed to the end of the year, and that's what we get to think about. Because frankly speaking, I just think I would say bowl games for me at this point are because of the playoffs and everything else. Like bowl games for me are just exhibition games at this point. You got your best players not playing, and you could talk a lot about what you have coming in next year and all that stuff. But I agree because there's not much on the line. But the other question is when you have that much on the line and you're supposed to be a good team, those are the games where you really kind of see what we're made of, what we're built from. So I agree to a point, but man, like I said, I just don't know. Like I keep going back to what was the best part? This is crazy. This is crazy to me. But I made a note and it said, what was the best part of our defense? And then I wrote during the game, the best part of our defense was friggin' Drew Pine. Like the defense did nothing. Like it was crazy. Like we didn't get any stops. Third downs were clearly ridiculous.
8 of 12. 8 of 12, and many of them were absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah. The linebackers blitzed constantly and literally did nothing the whole time.
It's
somebody,
dude.
One of the talk shows used an analogy. It was like a bug on a windshield because that's what it looked like. There was
I feel like every time Marist flies in there, I see him bounced right off a guy ready to block him. Every single gap he chooses, I see that hair bouncing off an offensive blocker every time, all year.
Leofau was running all over the place the whole game,
but never getting anywhere.
He never did anything.
Yeah, he was running a lot. He was running a lot. It just never landed anywhere.
But never actually touching anybody.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I think you had spoken about, you certainly said about the holdings, but there was a play in the beginning where Leofau is clearly getting held by a defensive lineman, but he's just sitting there, and it looks like they're hand slap fighting. Like his arms are just flailing. He can't go anywhere. Caleb Williams is back there for like 5 minutes. And Leofau is just sitting there, and I'm like, man, does he spin? Can he do like a rip? Can he do something? But he's just doing nothing. He's sitting there flailing. So I don't know. It was almost like, hey, no Tariq Bracy, no Cam equals all of a sudden the whole defense forgot how to tackle.
I guess.
I don't understand the plan. I think the whole thing is on. Al Golden. There's a few pitches over. A few runs and pitches over to the right where you could see like 40 yards down the field. There's no one there. Like, what are we doing for schemes here? How are we doing it? The defense gave up, 4 or 5 75-yard drives, which has been an issue all year. Our red zone defense, an issue all year. So
yeah.
I put that on. I put that on Golden. You know what I mean? And then the fumble happened, and I was like, "That's it, game over."
Yep.
Like I don't think that we can.
Yeah,
we clearly
that was
couldn't
it.
Stop anybody.
Yeah. So all right, let's move this forward. I'm glad you got a lot of that out, and we all seem to be on the same page. Now that the regular season's over, what is your primary focus? If you're looking at getting us better and now the regular season's over, where do you start? If you're in, like, if it was up to you, what is your biggest priority this offseason?
It starts with Freeman owning more of the team, not having as much, not giving the coordinators as much freedom as they have, if that is the case. Because I do think that we were outcoached, and everybody was saying, "Oh, Caleb Williams is."
I think that's a very good answer. Honestly, I think that's a very good answer. That's a very good answer. That's a very well thought out answer. And it makes sense to me, though, that to start out, Marcus Freeman would take a more lukewarm approach to being like totally power over everything, trying Tommy, the Notre Dame guy, let him do his thing. I get some of that hands-off, feel your way around it to start. Ultimately, it's his coaching reputation on the line. He's going to have tough decisions to make, right?
Yeah, I mean, to say that they haven't been out-coached this year would be vastly inaccurate, right? They've certainly been out-coached at times this year, and USC was one of them. Like I said, everybody was saying, "Hey, Caleb Williams is pooch punting because Riley's trying to get him the Heisman." I said, "No, Williams is pooch punting because they're eliminating our special teams. They're eliminating our punt block."
Yep, it was smart.
That's exactly what they did.
It was smart.
They got out-coached in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, defense had no adjustments, and I think just Goldie's was lost and stuff. Worst part of the game, and I apologize beforehand because I feel like this is slightly inappropriate. But my God, the announcers were just balls deep in USC.
I'm telling you, Chris Fowler, I think he got a hold of that high-grade legal California weed. That guy was out of control. He was out of his mind. USC would gain like 2 yards, and this guy acted like he won the lottery.
It was disgusting. I was sending friends. I was like, I know what Herb Street and Fowler are doing after the game, and it's going to be.
I'm telling you, dude. I had most of the second half on mute because you had their annoying announcing, and then you had the backdrop to it was USC's band. It was just like I put the game on mute, and I'm like, this is already miserable enough. I don't need to make it worse, and I watched the second half on mute.
Yeah, it was. Again, it was a lot. I get it. I'm hypersensitive to Notre Dame. I kind of looked at it, man, and like you said, if you're watching everything, it was a bad day for almost all the teams that we played.
Yep.
Whether it was Ohio State.
Yeah, bad day for us. Clemson. Yep.
UNC had a bad day when they played. Like a lot of the teams we played had. I think the only Syracuse won. I think they beat Boston College or something like that. But just bad day all around. We'll probably have them play Caleb Williams one more time. He's not eligible for the draft this year, so he probably goes out next year. And then, man, big question I had. I just need to put a huge question mark next to it. Was what the hell was the 2-point conversion? Like, I just don't even understand what we were trying to accomplish with that because it served no purpose.
Yeah, Yeah, that's like one of the last things on my list. I thought about it too, the numbers and all that. I don't know, man. This is a struggle. And the other thing is now we have this unique bowl game situation. Wait and see what that's like. And then there's that in-between time. And it's always tricky because you're looking at big picture, but there's one more game in the middle. We're going to have a lot of time to break this all down. You have really good thoughts all the time. I know you take notes. I love that. So what's your final thought here? I'm glad you got a lot of this off your chest.
Yeah, it's funny because I made a thing, I'll say the bowl game. For me, there's no relevance just because it's more of an exhibition game. And if I'm the defense and I got to go back and watch film, I'd be embarrassed about that. Like I think that was demoralizing for them. It's almost like I don't even want to play a bowl game. And then if we don't have some of the seniors in there because they're possibly going or looking at combines, it's even rougher. But, for the year, I think the officiating has been terrible in general. During this game, it's like every spot. You think about that Diggs first down.
Don't even look at it. It's like a yard off.
We looked at Yeah, every Notre Dame spot was looked at to the micro inch,
wasn't it?
whereas USC was just like he ran it, and they were like, yeah, no, that's definitely a first down. We don't need to look at those. And
when it rains, it pours, man. It all went against us.
I feel like we get the shaft quite a bit on some of the officiating, but I think the ACC officiating is the absolute worst, and I don't know who was officiating, but I'll have some good to finish off with, because I don't want to just be bad news bears all the time. But I will say there's a few ways that you have to look at it. Right, we played 3 top 5 teams this year, and we won one. And the 2 other top 5 teams that we played, obviously Ohio State and USC, we lost by 11 points. In the past, we probably don't win any of those games. In the past, we probably lose by more than 11 points. So there's a positive there in terms of the direction that we're going. So our biggest loss of the whole year, you look at the whole year, our biggest losses of the whole year were Ohio State, USC. We lost both games by 11. Not terrible. You know what I mean? Like, if you're looking back
and I know no one wants to hear this. Nobody wants to hear this in the fan base right now. People are frustrated with Freeman and Reese and Golden and all that, and I get it. No one wants to hear it, but it is an objective fact. There's more talent coming. Notre Dame's going to have more talent every team you see from now on from Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. And I know nobody's in the mood for that, and it sounds like excuse making, and we've been promised before, but like, this recruiting operation's objectively different than Kelly's. You are actually going to have higher end talent here. You still got to nail the quarterback thing and figure that out. But like, there is some upside that I wouldn't have under Kelly. Better talent's coming. This is the worst team the guy's going to have. I'm keeping that in mind.
Yeah, I got to look at the good, because the bad is just, it's so easy. It's much easier to focus on bad than it is good. It's just human nature. We spend more time with things that we don't like than we do with things that we like, which is crazy. But you got to think about a few things. Like, we had a terrible defensive scheme and game plan. Obviously, you could see it, but we held them under 40 points, which is like they basically scored 40 points in every game this year.
Yeah,
except for one. Williams was well below his average in terms of throws, yards, all that stuff. So that was good. You know, I know yesterday we had a new O-line commit that came out and that switched from Wisconsin to us. So that's some good Notre Dame news. And then, you know, I have a question for you, but I'll finish my comments with I just appreciate what Drew Pine did yesterday, because I think without Drew Pine, this game is a much bigger blowout than it really was.
Now, wait a second, though. Wait a second, though. Let me flip this on you. Let me mess this up.
Flip it.
You're saying, you know, all right, Pine played good and it kept us in the game or whatever. What if I said to you, what if I moved it the other way and Notre Dame actually had a real Division I built, big arm, strong quarterback? Then what does it look like? Like the other flip side is, what if we actually have a good quarterback in one of these games, like an elite level guy? Like, that's where I want to see it. Us facing a team like USC, but we also have a dude at quarterback that's wildly exciting, not Pine style.
Oh, I think that's what we need, and that's where we have to go. I think I'm looking at it more so saying, like,
in our dynamic that is
off the rails a lot more.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I think it could have been. So my question before I jump, because I know you got a lot of people. I mean, I love seeing the chat was just humming before the call even started, or before the show even started. So I always appreciate reading all that stuff. Here's my question. Like I said, this is my first year kind of really calling in and participating and all that stuff, and I certainly appreciate the time given and being able to reflect with you and listening to what the audience does. What is the Always Irish off-season schedule? What are the changes?
That's a good question.
How do I keep kind of up with this?
It's a good question. I am still trying to play with that a little bit. I have a feeling there isn't going to be enough traffic in the off season and interest for these shows as much as we're doing them. There just isn't in the off season. That's natural. It may be a situation where I do a couple call-in shows, but they get flipped to evening so that I could catch more people off work. because that evening window, a lot more people are available. So I am playing around with it. I just know there isn't going to be the traffic in the dead of the off season for 3 or 4 of these in the morning per week. If people want to do one of them in the week and I do one at night too, I'm still playing with that, and I'm trying to figure out what's going to work.
Well, keep us posted, John, for sure. I don't know if you ever do anything or do like a group or text message or something else like that, but always, keep my number, man.
And you know what else I'll do? You know what else I'll do? Whenever I come up with something, I'll put it in the community tab on YouTube. I'll write in there so people who aren't on Twitter will see it too, and let people know kind of what the plan is. So I'll make sure I announce anything before I do it so that you guys can make plans. But good question. I myself have been asking. We're all used to this routine. Now what? So I'm going to play it by ear, engage the interest, and we'll kind of go from there. But I really appreciate you all year. You're very organized. You have great thoughts, appreciative of the time. Fantastic caller, man. Thanks a lot.
John, I appreciate that, and I'll say the same. I appreciate you. Appreciate all the things that you've gone over this season. I appreciate the rage, the positivity, kind of all of it, because the reason I like your show is because I feel like you and I are similar in the regard of, man, sometimes you just got to let it out to feel a little bit better and scream about a few things.
Hey, man, that's how this show started. That's how it all started. Thanks to Brian Kelly, mid 2016. I needed an outlet or I was going to go crazy, and here it is. So the least I could do is come up with a way to let you guys have a voice. I'm really glad I was able to do that. You all deserve to be heard, and that's what this is for. So I thank you for everything, and I'll keep everybody posted.
Yeah, John, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for all the stuff this season, and obviously, we'll be hearing from you for some more, and I'll continue to try to call in as much as possible. But man, hey, listen, just like I said, appreciate you for this season, and hopefully next season we're looking at a good run. We continue to get better. Our ceiling gets higher. But John, again, like I said, appreciate you a ton. Your audience, everybody, really looking forward to continuing with Always Irish. So have a great day.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good caller. He calls every single time. 336, you're next, but I got to blow my nose. We're going back to that from like a month ago. Time out for 10 seconds. Don't leave. I'm telling you guys, it's a struggle. Every single person in my family is like really, really sick. It's a struggle. We're all fighting it. Give me a break. 336, you're in the mix. What's on your mind?
Hey, okay. So I got in early today, I guess. So I've been thinking about this for the last couple nights because, I like to torture myself, I guess. I don't have the long memory of Notre Dame football that I'm sure some of the callers will have. I was trying to figure out where do I put this whole weekend, as far as my Notre Dame misery index. Like, where does this rank?
What'd you come up with? Yeah. I like this experiment. This is a very Notre Dame experiment to measure our misery index. What's the scientific input here? What did you come up with?
So what I'm going back and forth with 2012 National Championship game, which was my birthday. Happy birthday to me. We get to get blown out by Alabama. And this week, like, those two I'm going back and forth with because of the simple fact that this game might, put probably both USC and Michigan into the playoffs.
Maybe.
This weekend did that. And I'm just like, no.
Yep. It's a struggle.
I'm like, of all the things I wanted to see this weekend, seeing both of those two teams making the playoffs, not it.
Yep.
Now, I've read a lot of people complaining about Caleb Williams painting his fingernails, and I'm like, who gives it? Who cares? Who cares? It's a rivalry game. People do weird stuff. I don't care about that.
Yeah, it's a lower level complaint, and Notre Dame had every chance in the world to stop that at any point. If Notre Dame didn't like anything he was doing or showboating or anything else, step up and stop him. Like we had plenty of opportunities. But my misery index for the actual game isn't really that as high because we had 3 losses. I'm telling you, for me, there's a cap at this because we didn't have as much on the line. If this was for our playoff hopes, it hurt a lot more, but those were over in September. So does that come into play at all for you? It did to me. Like, I'm not acting like we didn't make the playoff because we laid an egg in LA. Even if we played great, we weren't reaching our ultimate goal anyways. So how does that play in your misery index?
Like certainly the game itself, I didn't feel, there are games that I felt worse watching, that stupid, and I know you mentioned before you were at the game, the push game, which was a penalty. That was a penalty. But should have stopped them on that drive down the field anyway. They shouldn't have gotten to that position. But that was more miserable because it felt like we were never going to get over the hump and beat this team.
Yeah.
But as a single game, that was more miserable. But the context of what this game did, where Michigan won earlier in the day, and was probably a playoff team now. I mean, they could lose to Purdue and still be a playoff team, I think.
Yeah, it was Notre Dame had a bad day even before our game started because I said your best win and best loss lost a lot of value before we even kicked off. So it was a rough dynamic right away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would have mattered anyway, but at the end of the day, the thing that increased the misery for me was just like now I have to see USC and Michigan in the playoffs, and I guess go dogs.
Yeah, exactly. It's not great. It's not a great dynamic. And the other frustrating thing is now you're looking at a playoff without Clemson, Alabama, and USC, OSU. And that's a year where spots open up and new teams could get in. We could have taken advantage and we didn't. I was thinking about that too.
Well, I mean, we're months away from being able to take advantage of this. But, I mean, the frustrating part for me is the idea that it's not so much that new teams are going to get in. I would have looked forward to that if there were other teams than those two.
Yeah.
If there was, I mean, Ohio State wouldn't be new, but if it was Oregon getting into the playoffs, I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. Or if it was Washington, or I mean, I guess those teams aren't technically new because both those two teams have made playoffs before, but it's been a while.
Yeah. It's all right. So let's circle back to the Notre Dame USC situation. What's the number one thing that frustrated you about the game, and what's the number one thing that gives you some positivity moving forward, if there is anything?
Well, I'll say this. I heard your post-game review yesterday that you put out, and you mentioned how the officiating seemed to wait until it didn't matter to start throwing penalty flags.
Seemed to me they were holding every single play they were holding, and it never got called till the Heisman was wrapped up and it was late in the game, and then they started throwing the flag. That's just I'm sorry. I don't want to be the referee cry guy. No one likes people like that. I don't like people like that. But when it's obviously that obvious, you got to mention it. We were getting held every single play, and they never called it till the Heisman and the game was pretty much wrapped up.
What I would say is that one of the most glaring examples I saw, I mean, the Mayer touchdown where the guy was clearly interfering and we didn't get anything. The first one, I mean. but also that long pass. It didn't result in a touchdown. It's like a 60-yard pass that USC had, where it's one of the ones where Williams broke the pocket and rolled out to his right, and then threw the ball 50 yards downfield and got ran for, and he was wide open, but Foskey was held the entire way. And I'm watching it because, how are we supposed to, if the refs are going to swallow the flag so much, and just, it's really easy to block I shouldn't say easy. It's easier to block when you're 320 pounds and you can hold the guy than if he was.
Yeah. It didn't help. Listen, I'm not blaming the refs for the loss. Notre Dame played bad defensively most of the game. I'm not blaming them for the loss, but it certainly doesn't help when blatant holds were not called on a lot of those big plays. It just added to the frustration and everything that goes into us going out there to USC.
It's one. I will say, you just said that Notre Dame didn't play well defensively. How much did the not calling holding affect Notre Dame's ability to play defense even?
A lot, but not enough that you allow 204 yards and I say it's the ref's fault. 204 yards rushing, I'm not putting that on the refs. I can't. It was a frustration, but when you give up 204 rushing and 145 to their backup, that ain't all the refs. It's not all on them. I'm just saying it was a big issue, and I didn't like it. What did you think of Drew Pine overall? A lot of good and some big time bad that cost us. Where do you fall on him?
Well, I will say this with the offense, with the fact that Notre Dame made allowed a lot of big plays defensively, and we had the issues with the holding. The fact is if you take away if those turnovers didn't happen and the turnover on downs didn't happen, Notre Dame didn't lose by a tremendous amount here. So it's they if they don't shoot themselves in the foot a little bit, the interception, the fumble, and then that turnover on downs, which is a different issue from the referees. Again, because I actually I watched that replay over and over again of Evans, and the referees blew the whistle really early on that play. When he got if you watch the play, he got pushed afterward, and they're just nope, it's dead. We're gonna kill it here. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have if Notre Dame doesn't make those mistakes offensively, the final score was 38-27. It's not like they won by 4 touchdowns or something.
Yeah.
It was we were, if Notre Dame didn't turn the ball over, and that fumble was at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, but I can't look at a game and go, everything was great if you subtract out the biggest plays of the game that won or lost it for us. That's where I have an issue. I have a problem when people are if you look at Pine's stat line, it was awesome. I can't take out the 2 plays that cost us the game and subtract them out of the equation. They're the biggest plays of the game for a reason. And I have half the fan base saying, if you take out what determined the game and look at everything else, it wasn't that bad. I have a very hard time being able to do that. 937, you're coming up. 219, call back if you want.
I agree with what you're saying, that
how am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to take the plays that determine the game out and then just analyze everything else neutrally?
I guess the thing, all I'm saying is that really, when you look at what the events were of that game, the fact that Notre Dame only lost by 11 is kind of shocking. So there is something there. They did something well. Pine, my issue with Pine is we all agree. He's clearly not a Division I college football starter. And I think the coaching staff agreed with that because he wasn't the starter to start the season.
Yeah, it's a good point.
He was the back, which is like Pine should be a capable backup.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has had to start the entire season is a massive problem.
Yeah, but this ends up down a road where I say you should have better top 1 and 2 guys that are physically more capable anyways, so that if we get to that point, even the next, it all just keeps turning into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then it sounds like an excuse, but it's reality. We need to end all this. Notre Dame's not getting to our ultimate goal till that quarterback position is stabilized and has high-end upside we have never had recently. That is the bottom line. Whatever it takes to do it, that is just where I'm at. And I have no more patience for this quarterback deal of we never know what we're going to get. Just hope it works out this year. I'm sick of that.
I don't know if Pine's back on the roster next year. I hope he goes back to being a backup. I don't know if Buckner's the guy either because we didn't see. What we saw from him was an offense that had figured nothing out and him running for his life.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can judge him off of what the team looked like those first 2 games because they looked awful.
Yeah. It's all frustrating. But even in a good scenario then, if you believe in Buckner, some do, some don't. Even if you do, you still don't know what you're going to get. We're going into next year and we don't know what we're going to get. And you just hope it works out. That is not a recipe for success in college football. We do it every year. You got to find some stabilization there.
I don't know if we can do. So, USC, the USC team we played last year and the USC team this year literally have nothing in common. They're an NFL free agency team.
Yep, pretty much. And then, you know what? That's something else that rubs me the wrong way too. It rubs me the wrong way too. I know it's legal. I know that's how people play the game now, flip your roster. Even though it's legal, it rubs me the wrong way. These guys didn't buy into USC. They bought into wherever was going to pay them, and it happens to be at USC. That rubs me the wrong way too. They went wherever the money was, and it happened to be a place that annoys me. That bothers me too.
I don't know if a Caleb Williams transferring from Oklahoma, you're not going to see that every year. You're not going to find. You're not going to have a Caleb Williams level player transferring this offseason, I don't think. I mean, I've heard people try to mention Drake May. I don't think he's leaving North Carolina. So it's you're not going to find that guy. I think the better thing to look for, and you'd have to put a lot of talent around this because he had a lot of talent when he went there, is a Joe Burrow. That's the better thing to look for. Try to find a guy like that.
Well, that's easy to say. Where are we supposed to find that guy at? And what's going to make him come to Notre Dame?
Well, again, when he transferred to LSU, I don't think anybody looked at that this guy's going to be Heisman Trophy winner and national champion because he couldn't win the starting job at Ohio State.
Yeah,
He
man.
was going to go to LSU. That's the issue, though. If you're finding one of those guys, if you're finding, a guy you can't win the starting job at Alabama or Ohio State or something, you have to run a ton of talent. I mean, that's why Joe Burrow was successful in college, really. They put who were the receivers? They had Chase and who was all these other receivers they had? Was it Jefferson?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but that's the other issue. Even if Notre Dame has one of those quarterbacks, Notre Dame's never going to have a wide receiver room that looks like that. Notre Dame's got to build this the way they're going to build it. And I don't know if that structure is going to work. I don't ever see Notre Dame having those wide receivers. So I don't know where we but that quarterback thing, I'm done with unknowns every year. It is not natural as a college program every time you start a fall camp to say, we hope the quarterback ends up being good, but there's no evidence that we know he already is. And that is the position Notre Dame's in every single year. It can't be. That's not a recipe for stable success.
At the end of the day, you know, the best way to get these guys is, I mean, again, you're not going to have top-tier national championship level quarterbacks transferring on a yearly basis. They're not leaving their schools they're at, generally speaking.
But the transfer thing is a Band-Aid for Notre Dame, not the solution. That is a temporary Band-Aid for 1 year to build you a window. That is a temporary solution. You got to find one of these recruits that hits. Hitch your wagon to them, develop them, play them young with young receivers, get the growing pains out of the way. And after 2 to 3 years of that, you end up with an experienced guy who knows what's around him. They all grow up together. That's the sweet spot. Notre Dame's never in it.
I agree. That's what I was going to say next was, you know, the solution, in all honesty, is because those Joe Burrows and Caleb Williams are so rare that you can't do it through transferring. You've got to find those guys in the recruiting market. You can't do it through, you know, who's the best quarterback in the last 20 years at Notre Dame that was a transfer? Was it Cone?
Yeah, because Notre Dame doesn't really do the transfer thing. It's a temporary Band-Aid. And it's annoying to even do that. It's find your own guy, home grow him, and become something. It's not that hard. Everybody else in the country could do it. It seems like the top teams, not us. So I don't know, man. Final thoughts you have here? What are you thinking about between now and the bowl game? What's on your mind the most?
I mean, the bowl game's going to be disappointing because whatever bowl game we go to, it's going to be like your old tent bowl that you had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, right? The Camping World Bowl, and everybody's going to be if you win it, they give you a tent. You go camping for the weekend.
It'll be one of those. It'll be, you know, I don't think it'll be quite as bad because part of the problem with that year was Notre Dame was 10-2, and we were playing 7-5 Iowa State, and it's like this is total lose-lose.
Yeah, that was offensive. I went off on that. I remember being so mad about that, being like, how do these teams match up? I was all mad about it. I don't know, man. I'm struggling with this. So I just we'll see what's going to happen. But this was
hopefully we get a similarly recorded opponent of, you know, 8-4 level team. Maybe I've read a lot that people think we'll play South Carolina, which is 8-4.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can beat them because they suddenly got hot at the end of the year. Not that they blew Clemson away or anything.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Notre Dame's not going to be the same team that showed up against Clemson because how many of our guys are not playing the bowl game?
Yep. It's going to be frustrating for that reason. You're right. And it's like you got to win it to maintain momentum, but it's like not a bowl game that's going to excite anybody. And some of our best players aren't going to be there. It's not a great dynamic. Thanks for the call, my friend. We'll do a show later in the week. Call back. Appreciate you.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a good one. 937, what's going on? Or wait, I hit 734 on accident. My bad. 937, you're up next. Hit the wrong one. What's going on, man?
Hey, John. What's going on, brother?
You know, just struggling a little bit.
I hear you, man. I tell you something. I called in last week, and I remember you asked me, man.
Yo, 734, I had to drop you. Super fuzzy on the line. I'm sorry about that. I could barely hear you, man. It was all fuzz. I don't know if you got a bad line. It was all static on my end. Try back. 937, you're on the air.
Hey, John.
What's going on, man? Happy Monday, I guess.
Yeah, happy Monday. I'm probably not as bummed out as some of the other folks I mean, you look at it, we lost to a team that's probably going to the college football playoff, you know.
Probably as a Heisman winner.
It probably has a Heisman winner. So, I mean, and, you know, in that game, you know, we really needed to have an offense that was going to give our defense a break. You know, I don't think anybody's, you know, talked about it, but they had a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, you want to go in there the same mindset as you were with Ohio State. You know, you want to win the time of possession. Well, we lost the time of possession by 11 minutes. So, you know, our defense, I think our defense got really tired. And the biggest killer of the whole game was we were going to probably score a touchdown. We were rolling, and we had the fumble. So instead of the game being 14-17, it ends up, you know, backfiring on us, and it's 24-7, and your defense has been out there most of the game. You know, I think that was really where we lost the game. And I'm a huge fan of Audric Estime, and it just kills me that we don't use them.
Some people are saying he was battling turf toe. I saw that in the chat. Somebody says he was battling that, and maybe that would explain having fewer carries. I was not aware of that. I did not read a lot of Notre Dame media yesterday. I was not in the mood. I did my thing and kind of checked out. So maybe that's the case.
But yeah, well, you know, but it still doesn't explain the stats for the whole year.
Yeah.
Estime had less carries than Logan Diggs, but he averages a whole yard more.
Yeah.
So when you put Estime up against, you know, like another big time school, that Corum, you know, Corum averaged 5.9 yards. He averages 5.8. He actually averages more touchdowns per carry when you extrapolate it out. We got a guy. I'm telling you, he's going to be gone after next year. If he's healthy, he's going to be gone after next year. So we better enjoy him while we have him, because but you got to use him. Otherwise, I guess you know. But that's beyond the point for today. I think to start the game out, you know, it's one of those things. 3rd and 2, and you don't use Estime on that run. You give a jet sweep to Logan Diggs. I thought that was stupid.
You know what I don't understand? Our run numbers on 3rd and 4th and short yardage have been very, very bad all year. And for an offensive line, we feel like got pretty good as the year went on. It's surprising to me they struggle so mightily in short yardage situations all year. Why? Is that scheme? Is that that's very, very frustrating.
Well, I do believe, and this was a complaint I had when I think Drew Pine, for all of his for as average as he is, I think that's where having a non-mobile quarterback really, really hurts you. I think if we would have been able to have Buckner, whether he would have been any better or not, having Buckner on 3rd down, like just having a threat of maybe a naked bootleg or just something along those lines might have taken a little bit more pressure off. But I mean, it's 3rd and short. Everybody in the stadium knows, hey, we're going to run the ball. There's not going to be any trick to it. And I did want to say one other thing. USC, I think they had a really good coaching day. And
got to give them that. Got to give them that.
But and I don't know if anybody else noticed, but that first offensive series, they pulled out all the stops.
Misdirections. They did a little everything. I noticed.
They did not go out there and play their game.
Yep.
I think we had them scared. To me, that's the opening drive that says we need to score points. So, and they did not throw any true drop back passes.
Yep.
Which is where we get our interceptions and stuff.
Yep.
And so I look at it. I know.
You know what, man? Listen, I got to tell you, I actually appreciated some of that creativity and the way it was executed in their first drive. They had 2 or 3 plays that were total misdirections, getting all the action going one way, coming back the other way with an athlete with blocking. I enjoyed seeing that level of creativity and efficiency because we don't see that on our end. And I thought that was pretty damn clever, and they executed it.
And they pulled it all out on that first drive, the 4 touchdowns. When they tried to do it again later, we were ready, and we would have picked it off if Williams hadn't interfered with us. We would have picked off their last time where they tried something, kind of tricky. So, we adjust. We were just out there wanting to play football. They tried some tricky stuff, and they ended up scoring on their first drive. But I'm looking at the future. I think, I know there's debate on whether or not people want to keep Tommy Rees or not, all that jazz. I just think right now is as good of a time to move on if you're going to do it, because you have a 3rd-ranked class coming in, and then right now you're sitting at number 1 for 2024. So you're probably going to have a top 5 class. So I just think if you wanted to get a guy, there's no convincing. They're going to be saying, I want this job because you guys are recruiting great. I'm going to have talent. And if you do it the right way, you could solve your QB problem. You were talking last caller about Williams transferring. He only transferred because his head coach went somewhere else. So if you did things the right way, you might be able to get like a junior or a senior quarterback who likes the system he's in, says, this is what I want to, this is what I want to stay in this system. My offensive coordinator is moving on. I'm going to go with them. We're going to play big time football, and all that jazz.
Yeah.
You could maybe do that. And
don't you still think the path for Notre Dame is stability wise, getting a young guy with high upside, developing them with the young talent, and then when they're upperclassmen, you really got something cooking in rhythm? I really think that's Notre Dame's natural path here. They just never are in that situation.
And right. And I want to say one thing. A lot of people, they keep saying, oh, we got that Minchie, what does it do to Carr? I did like how you said it doesn't matter. If Carr doesn't want to come and compete, we don't want him. Because look, who has one of the best quarterback rooms in the whole nation? Ohio State. And you know what? They lose Burrow. Who cares? They have Stroud. They lose the kid who went to Texas. Who cares? They got more guys coming. If you are where the number 1 guy wants to be, they'll show up, and they just keep showing up. And they're wide receivers. That wide receiver room stuffed as well. So if you have the right coaches in place who recruit the right way, and you have the right success, these places, they're going to show up, and it doesn't matter if you lose one here or there. You're going to have another guy. It's all about being reloaded. I know you said in your video, some people are complaining about, we have some guys injured. Right now, injuries, I think, do affect our team more. I think in the future, it's not going to affect our team so much, unless it's like our absolute, best player. But I think down the road, and this is why I like Freeman, we're getting athletes across the board. We are having, I'm excited about the bowl. The only reason I'm excited about the bowl game is because I think we got guys who are younger who are going to show more promise. And so I want to see him out there. I hope Buckner is healthy to play, because I want to see him play again, kind of like with a team that's a little bit, has more of a rhythm going for it.
Yeah.
See if anything looks different there too, because people might change their mind and say, oh, well, you know what? Maybe he never looked good because we didn't know what we were doing. Maybe because he was our number 1 running option the first 2 weeks, which is total insanity, which goes back to like Tommy Rees. The guy just doesn't make sense much to me, so anyway,
man, he is the ultimate lightning rod. He is the ultimate lightning rod. I still, after all of this year and everything that's happened and all the quarterback and everything, recruiting, it's still to me like 50-50 in my emails, my mentions, the comments. Get this guy out of here versus he knows what he's doing, but he isn't working in the right dynamic. Just wait. It is literally 50-50 in my messages. I have people on both sides of this every day.
Yeah. Well, but hey, I mean, offense is half the game. You know, we should have scored more points. I'll say that. We should have scored more points.
Well, everybody said, everybody's putting up yards and points on USC. It's so easy to do. And I watched late night Pac-12 and saw it happen all year against everybody else.
Yeah.
Notre Dame goes to Hollywood and you have 7 points at halftime. Tell me Reese did a really good job. But if you do, you can say it, but then you got to blame all the players for execution. Then, I need you to publicly blame all the players for execution. If you're going to tell me Reese's plan was really good and you didn't get out coached, why in the hell do we have 7 points at halftime in a rivalry game against a bad defense then?
We only had three possessions, but our first possession was a 3-and-out. And it was 3 straight runs to Diggs, who didn't have he didn't have anything going for him either that game. He just didn't. But you know, but then we had 2 more possessions, and, you know, we get 1 score. But you may not have heard the announcers. You might have had them muted, but the one guy did say most of the success from the teams that were running on USC, they were running kind of a spread offense, so to speak. Our running game is more compact, you know, because we run with so many tight ends and everything like that. So maybe that was, you know, only have a 1 receiver out or 2 receiver outs, you know, so maybe there is some rhyme and reason to that. Maybe if you line up square, you know, just head to head with all the linebackers and all the linemen, you're not making more room for yourself. Maybe they are actually a little bit better at defending that. That's something that our guys should know too.
Yeah.
You know? They should be able to look at some film and say, well, who's had success, who's had, you know, and what kind of formation are they in? So, you know, and maybe that is a real thing. Maybe they were better at stopping that kind of run game, you know. But we didn't use our best running back, so there's that too.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and even with that offensive stuff, I think I'm more upset with the defense. I am. The 7 points at half isn't good enough, but I was taken aback by the running yardage we allowed and how sloppy the tackling was.
I think it was the same.
It's rough.
They were tired, and I think they got tired faster because
tired from what? Oh, that chemical that's in the turkeys that makes people tired, or what?
No.
You mean over the course of the game since they were out there for 90 minutes?
We all said, you know, Ohio State had that long run at the end of the game. You know, we all said it looked like our defense was tired, you know, because we weren't giving that up. And in the first half, we didn't give up a bunch of rushing yards or anything. But look, our defensive linemen were sprinting after Williams the entire game. And so, and this could be a coaching philosophy. Do you try and run down a guy who you can't really run down, or do you just try to contain him and just make him throw the ball from the pocket? Because I was talking to my dad, you know, we're just not getting them, you know. And I do agree there were holdings throughout that game that they did not call, you know. But do you just try to contain the pocket until the pocket collapses all the way? Or because we weren't having any success, maybe our coaches thought we were athletic enough to get to them, but we really just didn't get to them. And I think that they made our defensive linemen tired, because in the second half we did start giving up the run. And I just, you know, I don't know if it was a combination of just people were just demoralized, you know, or if we were tired. that's what it looked like to me. We gave up 17 points in the first half, and 21 in the second half. We didn't really make any adjustments, and maybe they made adjustments.
Let me ask this. Did you feel like Notre Dame came out fired up and ready to go at the same level USC was to start this rivalry game?
I kind of think both teams were about even at the beginning. Where everything shifted in my mind, was they had so much more fire after that fumble. I think we got deflated and they got inflated. Because in that half, right at the beginning of the second half, that whole second half, they felt like they were on cloud nine. They had infinite energy. Kind of feel. So, I think at the beginning of the game, I looked at our defense was playing really hard. It's just we couldn't. Hey, they got the Heisman.
It's funny though. Like playing hard to me can mean a lot of things. Like playing hard could be you're trying really hard and you're running really hard. It's just you're never tackling the guy. Like you could be playing hard and losing because we did a lot of running around. None of it was tackling that guy.
Right. Hey, it's that. Hey. And also, I want to say one other thing about. I think this is just from my perspective because the last time there was really anything meaningful, against USC and Notre Dame, I don't know. I was probably 10 with the Bush push,
Yeah.
So I guess the only reason I know why we don't want to lose to USC. They're our big rival. Is just because that's what my dad tells me. But I don't remember any real meaningful games.
Oh.
And so if you look at, hey, we're 8-3, going into that, how big of a game was that for us versus for them? I mean, they had a lot more at stake, just playing spoiler doesn't give you a whole lot of reason to play, I guess. And so I don't, I do want to, in high school, I transferred to a school. They had a big rival. I didn't care. They're just another team to me, because I didn't grow up playing them every week.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but it wasn't the same. There wasn't the same feel. So, hey, it's just So I don't know how much. You might never let me call back again. But I was rooting for Michigan yesterday because I live in Ohio. So I was, Ohio was much more annoying to me than Michigan.
Yeah, I wanted an asteroid to win that game.
Yeah, and I do know you said it was a really bad day because Ohio State lost and we lost to them, and Clemson lost. But look, Ohio State's ranked 5. USC's like what, 4, 3, whatever they are, and Clemson is, they're going. I don't know where they sit. They're probably like what, 12 or something like that. Point is like, hey, we beat Clemson solid. Like we are better than Clemson, and we're not that far behind 2 of the top 5 teams. So when you look at it that way, for a first year of big transitions, not really having much set in stone with your quarterback, having to play a backup quarterback all year. I mean, truly, a true backup quarterback.
Yeah, and all the
not on your
instability with the new. Yeah, that makes sense. So, that's a good angle. I get it. That's a positive angle way to look at this. And I do think there's some merit to it.
And this, I do firmly believe that having 4 losses at the end of the season is going to be a blessing in disguise, because I think about the worst thing that could have happened to Freeman was to walk in here and have an easier schedule than this and go 11-1 and then be like, oh, winning's so easy. You don't have to, I think the fact that he was 3-3 right? I'm pretty sure we were 3-3, and you lost to 2 bad teams. I mean, it makes you wake up because it's not so easy to win, is it? So I think I think that bodes much better for next year. The fact that, it wasn't easy this year. And next year we have couple of easier games to start out. Hopefully we can nail those away. But then you got Ohio State, USC. And
yeah. You know what I like? You know what I like about that is you have the run up you mentioned against not great teams. The first few games, you would think Notre Dame should be able to win those. Hopefully, maybe I shouldn't say that after this year, but then Ohio State comes to our place. They're in a position with a new quarterback. I'm interested in that dynamic a lot.
Yeah. I think this year versus Ohio State, they got lucky and played us the first game. I wish we would have been about the first game again next year, where they're breaking in a new guy,
right? Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. But we'll both have some time. We play Navy, Tennessee State, and Central Michigan, and then it's Ohio State.
Yeah, and you would like to think that we could build up some confidence, work out the kinks. If the O-line needs to calibrate the first couple weeks, do all that in ugly wins if you need to. Ramp up for that Ohio State game. That it should be exciting if we don't slip up first.
Yep. So
I don't know, man. There's a lot to consider here, and it's any angle you want to take, you could take and run with. There's enough meat on the bone with Notre Dame. Good, bad, in the middle. Any lane you take, there's an angle.
But the one thing is that our future is bright. That's the way I look at it. I don't, after we beat Clemson, I mean, people were ready to coronate Freeman, And, I don't know if you saw the stat. We were 2-23 versus top 5 teams the last 20 years.
Yep, saw that.
And so Marcus Freeman's like 1-3 now.
Yep.
So, and he's going to get a couple more cracks at it next year. Ohio State and USC will both probably be undefeated when we play them. And I don't know their schedules, but they'll probably be undefeated, and they'll probably both be in the top 5.
Yep. And so if he could get one next year, then he's already caught Brian Kelly with about 7 years in his pocket. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's all about perspective.
Right. I mean, there's a difference between playing like our schedule next year doesn't have a bunch of like good teams. It has 3 high quality teams. Yeah. So hopefully we can show up in those games, and if we win 2 out of 3, that's the magic recipe.
Yep. Yep. It's, man, good thoughts, well-rounded stuff. There's a lot to cover. Thanks for the call, man. Give me a call back again. I'm gonna have some call-in shows, not for games, obviously, because they're over. Different topics. Yeah. And I want to see what people think of, like the topic of the day or the week. That's one of my ideas. So stay tuned.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right.
Have a good one. Brad Henry says, are you crazy, John? Portal is the future. Yeah, for most teams, Notre Dame's not going to be physically capable of portaling the way all these other teams do. I'm not crazy. I realize how Kelly built the LSU team this year with 24 quick transfers. I'm aware of what USC did. Notre Dame's never going to use it that way. So the portal's the future for who? Notre Dame's never going to use the portal. You want them to, Brad. They're not. That ain't happening. You might pull a quarterback, a safety, whatever. So I get your angle that the portal's the future, not for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's not going to be able to use the portal the way these other teams are. They're not. They're not. Grades, transferability, Notre Dame. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Notre Dame worries about how that looks for all those reasons. I'm talking about the portal this way for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's never going to build it the way LSU did, flipping 24 guys in a winter. No, That ain't happening. So quarterback, Cone, good example, 1 year Band-Aid type stuff. Fine. But I don't see that as a long-term solution. It's the grades are too hard at Notre Dame and all that. The portal may be the future, but it isn't the way for Notre Dame's future, I don't think, unless a lot of things change structurally at the top at Notre Dame. And I don't know if that's going to happen. All right, folks. I'll be honest, I'm struggling. I don't feel that well. I can barely breathe, barely talk. Gotta blow my nose. I'm struggling. So we're going to call the show now. I mean, we almost made it a full 2 hours. I apologize. I am very not feeling well. So we're going to wrap it up. I want to do shows the rest of the week. We'll see if people show up, and then I'll kind of gauge the rest of the offseason call-in shows till we get up to the bowl game. When the bowl game week comes, obviously we'll do shows in the morning and all that. So stay tuned, but we're going to run the rest of the week. I want to talk about this. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I know it's not easy, but we're all in this together, and I appreciate that. Kent, I give you a lot of credit. Not a good day for you guys either Saturday, but you were in here with us. You gained a lot of respect from me and everybody else for being around even when times aren't great. So thank you. Everybody, be safe. Have a good one. If I could yell out get some words out, I'm going to put out an episode tomorrow. Maybe later in the day, I'll have a better voice. Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a good day.